The way we play video games are ever evolving, from popping quarters at an arcade to using cartridges to our home consoles, to discs to now digital downloads. In the current age of gaming, we have the power, the option to go to our local shops to physically acquire our games, or digitally on our console store at the comfort of our homes. Recent discussions and news has opened this conversation back up on whether or not it is a good idea to purchase your games digitally or physically. Let's discuss. What is good, y'all? It is the Young King Ken, and today we're going to be discussing whether or not to purchase your games digitally or physically, with the pros and cons, and my opinions and thoughts in the end. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. I do a lot of these gaming discussions as well as gameplays, streams, and much more. So if you like that stuff, please subscribe and comment on whether or not you purchase your games physically or digitally, or both. So without further ado, let's get into this. We're going to start off with the cons and pros of buying your games digitally. And the first con, which is actually the inspiration for this video, is from several news sources from the past month regarding Sony, stating that they will, and most likely have by this point, taken down over 1,200 digital items, mostly TV shows and movies, due to the current licensing agreements with the producers of these shows. There has been major backlash from consumers, as expected, who have purchased these thinking that they own these digital items for life. And of course, this is another instance of Sony. They just can't seem to get their licensing straight in terms of third-party software. But if you didn't catch the first point I was trying to make here, is that technically, whenever you purchase your digital games or movies or whatever from a store, you don't fully own those items. The producers can set up licenses with the console owners, and when they feel like it, they can just take those games that you've already purchased that nowadays you may have dropped like $60 to $70 on, and maybe even more if that game has microtransactions, anytime they feel like. And it sucks. It really sucks because you spent pretty much the same amount that you probably would physically, but yet you probably can't play these for the rest of the time. But with physical, you can. The next con of purchasing your games digitally is that you can't sell your game if you grow tired of them. Let's just say you drop $70 on, which again, $70 is just a crazy amount to purchase for games, but that's a conversation for another day. If you drop $70 on a game and you're like, okay, you've 100% the game, or you're like, man, this game sucks. You can't sell it. You can't really do anything about it. I mean, you could delete it to save space, but that's all you pretty much could do. And then the last con I wanted to talk about is that you lose access to those games if your account ever gets banned or hacked. There has been a lot of backlash recently, more specifically on the games front, but I know like a lot of accounts have been getting banned for just no apparent reason, maybe like faulty code or whatever. But when your account gets banned, that means you lose access to that console subscriptions service. You can't log in online, which means a lot of the games that you purchase digitally require the use of online play. So you're SOL in that point, and what you'll have to do is create a new account. And when you do that, those games that you purchased from the last account, they most likely will not transfer over. So you'll have to repurchase those games. So like that's just money down the drain, essentially. And now the pros of purchasing your games digitally. And the major pro here is a matter of convenience. You don't have to waste gas money or time to get the game that you want. It doesn't take up personal space on your shelves or anything like that. You don't have to, go around looking for your physical copy because it's all on the console. That one is more of an environmental reason because manufacturing the plastic with the cases and all the CDs, like, yeah, that's also another reason. And then pre-ordering games. The main difference here between digital and physical is that you play it right at the time of release. If you pre-order your game digitally, you can preload them so that when the game releases, you don't have to wait. So for a lot of those Japanese made games and for all of us at the West, the game might even drop a day early at the most, while physically you have to wait until the following day when the stores open back up to pick up your pre-order. And then another pro is that digital never sells out like physical. For rare games, you may have to hop from store to store to get them, while digital is all on that console. It's all on that console store. All you need is an online connection and you're good to go. And then lastly, for the pros, subscription services allow you to access hundreds of games. A lot of them you couldn't even get at the store today for free or for, technically one price over a set month or year. To give you examples of this, with the three major console sellers, Xbox Game Pass does this possibly the best, as a lot of Xbox exclusives are free to play day one, like Starfield, Halo Infinite, it's campaign, Forza, and those are just a few to name. Nintendo, with their Nintendo Switch Online, allows you to play NES, SNES, and Game Boy games for around $20 a year, and N64, Sega Genesis, and Game Boy Advance games for $50 a year. And I haven't even mentioned that you can even get DLC for a lot of the first party Nintendo games with that $50 tier. And then with PlayStation Plus, the subscription allows you to get games from their past for free, mostly PS4 games, but they do like monthly. They do the PS Plus monthly thing where like 3 or 5 games you can download them for free if you just have at least the base subscription. So yeah, if you just go to the PS Store, add them to the library, they're yours forever, or at least until the licensing takes effect and they have to take them down. And that'll do it for the pros and cons of purchasing your games digitally. And now I want to get into the cons and pros of buying your games physically. And with the cons, the first con I want to talk about is the amount of effort that you have to put in to insert your disc. Now, personally, this is not an issue for me, but I know this generation has gotten a little bit lazy, I ain't gonna lie. But if you want to play your games and you have a physical copy, you have to get up, get your desired game, pop the disc into the console, and wait for the game to load. I mean, we've been doing that for generations, and I know people have been complaining about it. Well, I mean, which is a huge benefit for digital games, but I mean, this might be a problem for some. So then another con is that if the copy breaks or scratches up, you're pretty much done for, and you may not be able to sell it back. So it's a risk when you purchase those physical games. So please take care of your copies. Search up a YouTube video on how to take care of your discs for longevity if you need help with that. And then next, I wanted to talk about finding games in stock, because you can only get the game as long as they're in stock at the store. So for some of those obscure, those rare games, you won't be able to easily get them as you would digitally. So yeah. And then buying old school games. So some people see it as a pro that you can purchase refurbished or pre-owned games, just simply because you can. It's literally a discount per se on the games you buy, but still you can go to a vintage game store or your local retailer to get some of these games. But in my opinion, you need to use caution, especially for you collectors out there, because you could get scammed with possibly a hacked copy or a copy that's defective. I just never buy pre-owned games, but if I did, I would ask the clerk about the store's policy on pre-owned games and returns. Plus, when you buy pre-owned, if I'm correct, none of that money goes back to the developers, but to the retailer that owns that pre-owned copy. So it's just something you should watch out for. And now the pros for buying your games physically, in which the first one is backwards compatibility. Now, if that new console has backwards compatibility, then your physical games has new potential for use. With digital, it's only tied to that specific console, with the exception to the games that are tied to a subscription service. I know with the transition between the Wii and the Wii U, you were able to keep some of those digital games, but you had to repurchase them at like a major discount. So if I purchased like Ocarina of Time from the virtual store, I think that's what it's called, virtual console, for like, I don't know, $15, comes time for the Wii U to come out and I want to play Ocarina of Time, I'll probably have to drop like around $5 or less to play the game again, which is kind of weird for digital games. But I also want to talk about the Nintendo Switch Online, since it is one of the best cases, since it is confirmed that the games tied to the service will carry on to the next console. I go in depth on this in my 10 things Nintendo needs to do with their next console video, so go ahead and check that out. And then the next pro I wanted to talk about is that those games that you purchase are yours forever. You can put these physical games anywhere you like, and depending on the game, preserving a copy can even grant you monetary gain over time. A lot of the GameCube catalog right now is being run up at around $100, when those games back then came around like between $30 to $50. So it can be a great investment, especially to the collectors out there. And then the next point I wanted to bring up is, of course, pre-orders. Again, I made an entire video on the good that pre-orders can do for physical games, but to reiterate that a little bit, pre-ordering special editions of the game will grant you extra gear and memorabilia that you just couldn't get at your console store. And don't get me started on those midnight launches like the OG Modern Warfare 2, Halo, and others. I mean, that was a time to be alive. It is definitely an opportunity to bond with fellow gamers and possibly create lifelong friendships. I mean, you could probably like make friends digitally, but of course it's not the same. Like, yeah, for a lot of y'all who don't have big social circles, like, go ahead, go outside, touch some grass a little bit. But at the time of recording this, in my case, it'll be touching the snow, because here in the Midwest, yeah, like 5 to 10 inches of snow is just a normal day. Just a normal day. And then the last pro of physical games that I wanted to talk about is that it can be very cheaper than digital games. it is much more likely that a popular game that you like goes on sale at a retailer than on a digital store. You may find that some of your favorite games that were out for years are still at full price on those digital stores and about $10 to $20 cheaper at a retailer. This whole notion holds true for Nintendo games, which is why usually I own more Nintendo games physically than any other console, because those Nintendo games will probably be at like a $10 discount at like Walmart or something, while like for the other consoles, like it'll stay like full price for like a while until like you'll start seeing that price drop. So my thoughts on the physical versus digital debate is that personally the majority of the games that I own are digital through a subscription service, just simply because of convenience. But for a lot of those major titles or titles from series I hold near and dear, I get them physically, as they not only look good on my shelf, I own these titles till the end of time. The news from PlayStation resurfaced the fears I have when buying digital games, because one day the store or games may shut down, losing access to the game until consoles can get the license for them again. And for this major con is why I prefer physical games, and why I'll still get them till the end of time, or until gaming goes all digital, in which the blueprints for that are already there, with there being all digital consoles. So knock on wood that the producers of these game systems understand that there's still a market for physical games, especially for the old school gamers out there and those game collectors. So tell me what you think in the comments, and if you like this video and want to see more, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for whenever my vids drop. And until the next video, I would like y'all to keep our kingdom seasoned, y'all.